President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Wednesday urged the National Assembly to begin the process of reviewing the law so as to allow states willing to establish state police to do so. President Tinubu, in a statement he personally signed, also declared a security emergency and ordered the army and the police to recruit more personnel. He further directed the Department of State Services to immediately deploy all the forest guards already trained to flush out the terrorists and bandits lurking in the nation's forests. Now let's take the discussion further. As a retired military pilot, former Deputy Governor of Kebbi State joins us. His convoy was attacked in 2022 by bandits. Now retired Colonel Sumaila Yombe will help us to address all of these latest developments. Good morning, Colonel, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, Colonel, latest development, two developments yesterday. The president declaring security emergency across the country, urging the National Assembly to expedite action on the creation of state police in those states that are ready. Almost all the states, including the FCT, have said they have voted for state police. But that was as far back as February. Now the president says it's an emergency. Whoever is ready should go ahead. That's one. What do you think also of his other proposals? Recruitment of more soldiers, more police, forest guards, just to keep this environment far more secure. And then, of course, in Kebbi State, your state, the children who were abducted were rescued. But the big question that everybody is asking is that why the celebration? Okay, you have rescued the girls. Yes, that's what the state should do. But what happened to intelligence? Where are the bandits? Where are the kidnappers? Some people have said, no, that's what they want to hear. That these are the kidnappers, these are the bandits, and they will made to face the full wrath of the law. The Senate is even saying, in fact, the punishment should now be death penalty for anybody who is reckless enough to go and abduct other people's children. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you very much for having me once again. I would prefer to start by looking at Kebbi State as a state and, of course, the other states that are bordering Kebbi State, and to emphasize that Kebbi do not have forest or location whereby these bandits hide. They're coming from Sokoto State, Zamfara State, Niger, and Niger from the south. That has been the case now. But when we took over 2015, the governance of Kebbi State, the situation had not escalated as it is today. Be it as it may, we still had a lot of incursion from Zamfara, and that's why Kebbi South was the devastation of these bandits' activities is more in Kebbi South. To now look at what is happening today is worrisome. We must bear in mind that the action of these bandits is difficult to deal with militarily, in the sense that they appear from a direction that the soldiers are not prepared for. Can you imagine if you are standing facing south and somebody behind you give you a slap? You have to turn around to look at where he is. But if he comes straight directly at you, you know that this fellow is coming to me, and you'll be prepared, or you know how to handle whatever combat situation is facing you with. That's what had been the problem, and the security agents find it difficult to handle the tactical situation with the bandits. Now, I appreciate our president. I appreciate our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for deciding that, look, we have to reinforce the security assets by recruiting more soldiers, more police, more forest guards, and so on, because of the escalation of the problem and the limited availability of the forces to deal with the situation. And I think now by the time the state police are formed and other security assets are made available, we'll be able to deal with the situation amicably. And I think that I appreciate the President for taking the step he has taken.
All right, thank you. Let's dimension. Yesterday, I'd asked a question yesterday to the guest around the fact that when the Kebbi school children were released, there was a mention around them being rescued from Niger State. Now, we know that Niger borders Kebbi, and we had asked the question if this was now a new theater of abductions and criminality. What would you have to say about that? Kebbi in the past was relatively safe. We didn't hear, issues around banditry, kidnappings, as we've now heard now. What do you think about that in terms of that region itself? Has it become a hotbed of banditry? And then when we look at the state policing, what are some of the things, because there have been a number of arguments around its abuse, if enforced. What are some of the things that must be put in place to ensure that this doesn't happen?
I think Mr. President has already taken care of the deficiency in terms of security assets to cover this situation. Niger has a large portion of the forests where the bandits hide. And because of the nature of the terrain, it's difficult to traverse, to cover, and then take military action against the bandits. And that's why they take advantage of that to hide in those forests and hills. But now, with the formation of, by the time these forces are being made available to reinforce what security assets we have on ground, I think the situation will be history. But until we are able to occupy the forests physically, we will not be able to clear the bandits. They take advantage of the vast nature of the forest and, of course, the limited availability of our troops to cover that portion of the real estate. And unless that which the President has taken care of now is put in place, we still have problem of kidnapping here and there, stealing of our cows and etc.
All right, on the state police.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sorry, on the question around the state police and abuse, they talked about if some of the challenges that might be faced. Colonel Yombe? Yombe, yes, sir. Did you get my question around state policing and some of the challenges and what must be put in place to ensure that we don't see an abuse? They've said that maybe subnationals would abuse, their rights when it comes to state police. They'll be used as political actors. What are some of the things that must be done to ensure that doesn't happen?
Well, first of all, is the proper training of the security agents and the regularizing of those who are liberated, so to speak. But I find it difficult to understand why some of us believe that most of this has some political undertone, and that also must be, our politicians must be educated as to everybody now knows the negative vices of kidnapping and unrest generally, because there is no portion of this country that is not affected by one security issue or the other. So we have to really rearrange our minds into thinking the best way to handle whatever situation is to be in peace. And that involves even those who are backing, because a lot of people suspect that there are some, these bandits are backed by politicians. I don't want to argue about that. Whatever the case is, we have to face it squarely. This is our country. If we don't face it squarely, well, we're not going to enjoy what is available for us in this country, because I can't imagine why deputy speaker will be on his way to his village and suddenly some group of people will spring from the bush and steal him. Steal a human being. I mean, it's absurd. So, education, and we must rearrange our minds to realize that, hey, look, nobody will do this except we. We have to do it ourselves. And our religious fathers, both from different denominations, we have to look at it from fear of God. You can't be killing people, you can't be stealing people and subjecting them into some kind of hardship and think
sir,
you make whatever your whims are.
Speaker, if you can hear me, sir. Okay, if you can hear me, so I'm glad you bring up the case of the Deputy Speaker of the Kebbi State House of Assembly, who was also kidnapped just a few weeks ago, and then he too was, we don't know whether rescued or recovered or whether ransom was paid. But I would like for you to give us more information. What do you know about how he was recovered? And is his abduction associated with the same group who have now been emboldened enough by how that the interaction may have been handled to now go for soft targets as well? What is the information on the ground? Because the story seems incomplete. These incidents, yes, the girls understandably got more publicity, but you're seeing several of these incidents happening in your state recurringly.
Let's look at those that are involved in this kidnapping and then, of course, insecurity situation in Kebbi State. From the west areas bordering with Niger, we are faced with the group that are called Lukunawas. These are from Sahel countries, and they are staying in. They don't live in Nigeria. They cross the border because of the porous nature of our border. They cross, come in, create the kind of havoc they do, and go back. So the case of the deputy speaker was he was in the mosque. He had just finished praying. People walked in and abducted him. Walked out and rode on their motorcycles back into the forest that is not in Nigeria. And we had to, I don't know the details of how he was rescued, but it involved some of our DSS and the military personnel that went in to get him out. And I'm glad they got him in one piece, and he had sad stories to tell.
Well, Colonel.
So your suspicion is that those responsible...
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Abadi, I just wanted to say your suspicion is that those responsible using motorcycles from outside the country, as you said, have possibly gone back to their base outside of Nigeria. Is that your suspicion?
Exactly. There is no space for them in Kebbi State specifically. But in Niger, there is a large portion of the forest that from Guazero up to Kwara that is uninhabited.
Okay.
And that's what they take advantage of the emptiness of this forest to use as their cover. So those who abducted the deputy speaker meandered around to that forest, and that's where I think our security agents went, and of course, one thing I observe with these guys, they are scared to die too. The moment you offer some kind of resistance, they abandon their mission and take to their heels.
Okay.
So I think with the present development, I'm sure our military chaps will adopt a kind of tactics that will match the offensive nature of these bandits.
Well, Colonel, I wanted to ask you that question about state police again. You were a bit evasive. I sense the point you were making about politicians, but can you be categorical? Do you think state police is good or bad? Do you think it's something that can work? Or you think it's not likely to work because, as you said, politicians?
No. I generalized it. It will work. It can work. We have very good police officers who are up and doing, and they have demonstrated that in the past. You see, you don't have bad, only when you have bad leadership that you will have problem. And I'm happy to see that the police are fishing out those bad eggs in their midst to straighten out whatever deficiency they have in their performance. Yes, politicians, of course, you know very well that there is a tendency for those who fail to get the ballot, to be elected, to have a different kind of feeling. Some of our politicians can go to any length to make sure that those who happen to have won, they are discredited. These things are happening. I mean, they are not hidden. That we have opposition that are carrying out certain activities or certain things that, of course, will make the governance bad. And so, the police and the military and those who are involved in the security operation are doing very well. The issue is the escalation of the problem and the limited nature of the security agents. That is what has made it so difficult to appreciate.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Okay, all right. We have time for some more questions. So one of the things I wanted to ask, you said that there's a limited capacity for the security agents. What do you mean by this? Especially because now, as part of his directive, the president has ordered more recruitment for the police, now up to 50,000, more boots on ground. What are some of the limitations? Because if we keep recruiting and we don't tackle these limitations, then we won't make any headway in that regard. What are the limitations you have identified, particularly in that region?
Yeah, the major limitation is the number of security agents available, followed by the equipment they need to carry. You see, the bandits or whoever they are, their numbers are little, they are highly mobile, and they know the ground. But you see, we don't have enough forces to cover the kind of tactics being used by these bandits. So, but now, Mr. President has tackled the issue of shortage of manpower. I'm not saying capacity. The limitation is because of the numerical strength to handle the nature of the security escalation in the country. You can't send 15 men to fight 300. I mean, it's unhappy. And these 300 people appear from a direction you least expect. And they disappear towards a direction you will not even expect that somebody will go this direction to escape. So you see, the tactics employed by the bandits made it so difficult for the limited number of security assets we have. And I'm happy and I appreciate the president for having taken the step he has so far, that the soldiers can recruit, the police will recruit, and the states who are exposed to this security issue can now have their police. That's a very good development. I would like to take this opportunity to advise the military. Instead of going about we have a large concentration of ex-servicemen, able-bodied, that can be recalled to cover up the deficiency. Doing so will mean saving money to train fresh and time, because time is of essence here. If we call back those able-bodied, I mean those who are still strong, I remember what we did during the unfortunate Biafran issue. We had to call those who had retired, the retired soldiers. And when they came in, they made the whole offensive different, because now we had adequate boots on ground. And so the decision His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was taking is welcome idea. I appreciate him for that, because now once the strength of the security agents are increased and mobilized, trained, then the next is providing adequate weapons. You see, I mean, you need to provide the tools with which they work. And if we do that, I can see that within the shortest possible time, we'll clear this rubbish. And then, of course, next that must be done is we must close our border. I mean, defend our border in such a way that no one will come in or go out. Those Rukunawas, they come from Niger into Kebbi State, create their havoc, and ride back. So if we have that aspect, that axis covered with the security agents on ground, then that problem will, they can't find any way to come in. They have to fight their way, and they cannot be able to penetrate and come in to create the havoc they are creating right now. So I want to reiterate that the military, the soldiers, should endeavor to call back those able-bodied.
Okay.
They have records of everyone, and that they should be able to call them back, and then let's get on with this job.
Okay, Vimbai, do you still have a question for the Colonel?
Okay, yes, just a final question to you, sir. So I wasn't sure if we had enough time. Let's talk open grazing very briefly, because one of the president's instructions was that herders should engage with the Ministry of Livestock. The Ministry of Livestock, created by this administration, has decided to take a more gradual and long-term approach to ending open grazing and reinforcing ranching. Now, the federal government has also said that for now, this is something that should be happening at a state level. What are your thoughts on how this matter is being handled? Isn't there an urgent intervention that needs to be made in light of all of these insecurity developments to put restrictions on open grazing?
Yeah. Open grazing. I think the first thing that we must consider is that the Fulanis are by nature highly mobile. They move to areas where they can get feed for their cattle, and so if we are to stop such mobility by the Fulanis, we have to create ranches that will provide adequate grass for the cattle and water. If these two facilities are available, it will be more convincing to have them change their mind from moving from one place to the other. And that will help us check the likelihood of derailment by some of our Fulani brothers. And I think that's the major problem. First, we must have to provide a facility that will enable them settle down and will not have to move from point A to B, reduce their mobility.
If you can hear me,
and of course,
if you can hear me, let's restrict to calling them herders, because herding is not restricted to one ethnicity. Let's just call them herders because there are several ethnicities involved.
I'm sorry. That's true. Incidentally, my elder brother, who is not a Fulani, has plenty of cattle. So he falls in that category, herders.
Colonel, very quickly. Now, it's good you brought the military into the conversation. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi already made a statement this week saying the Armed Forces Act should be reviewed, and the section that says soldiers must retire after 35 years of service or when they attain 60 years, or whichever of the two comes first. And, just the same rationalization that you have given. Now, many of these soldiers, Professor Akinyemi said, okay, the ones that retired within the last 6 months, do you think, many of them would like to return? Because you know how Nigeria is. Some will say, oh, after 60 years or 35 years, I've done my bit. Let other people continue. Some left under circumstances that they didn't find very, encouraging. So what would be the motivation for an officer that has been pulled out, that is already back home, and the wife is saying, we thank God, though. What would be the motivation for them to go and wear uniform again and say they want to save Nigeria? Do you have any suggestions? Because they can't be compelled, can they?
Doctor, I can assure you that if today you stand in one place and say, you ex-servicemen from this age range to this age range, report to your local government headquarters. If care is not taken, you will have go slow of people, of these ex-servicemen going. I have had discussion with some of my colleagues, ex-servicemen, both other ranks and officers, who are biting their fingers and say, look, why don't we go and help in this? Thought you guys, when you were involved in that unfortunate war in Biafra, you were supported by ex-servicemen. And as I said, motivation. Some of the soldiers, the love of the profession itself is enough. Where I come from, there is a saying that a Zulu man, once he enters the army, is not looking forward to retirement. He is there for forever. So, Dr. Abati, I have also friends from Rekotekpene that I spoke with, and they say, look, Ete, why don't you tell this your guys to call us back? We will help, even if we were to guard the rear and let them go and fight. So we relieve those responsibilities of the barracks so that more able-bodied will go now to do the fighting. But motivation is the love of the country that comes first to a soldier. I can assure you that.
Very good. Thank you very much, Colonel. I hope if you are recalled too, you will join the field, to save Nigeria. Thank you very much indeed, Colonel Yombe.